My grandson. My Ethan. He used to fit against my side like a warm, wriggling puppy. When he was little, he'd climb into my lap with sticky fingers and sunburned cheeks, chattering about every rock he found in the yard. His eyes, the same soft blue as his mother's, used to look up at me like I was the whole world. Now, 28 years old, Ethan stood in front of me in a sharp navy suit that probably cost more than my rent. His hair was combed just right. Shoes polished like mirrors shimmered even on my dusty floor. The smell of expensive cologne followed him, innocent, unfamiliar. But powerful. It hit me the moment I opened the door. It's been 6 months since I've seen him. And if he hadn't said he had a meeting nearby, I doubt I would have seen him at all. "Grandma May," he said with that smooth, deep voice he used in business meetings now, but I still heard the boy inside it. I was in the area and thought I'd stop in for a bit. I stood there, blinking, my face caught somewhere between smiling and choking up. "Oh, Ethan, what a surprise," I said, smoothing down my cardigan nervously. The last time someone knocked was the mailman thing. That was just to leave a final notice on my overdue electricity bill. He stepped inside, and for a split second, he wrapped his arms around me. I closed my eyes and let myself melt into it for just a moment, pretending life was how it once was. Before silence filled every corner of this tiny apartment. Before the weight of survival replaced simple comfort. "You look tired, Grandma," he said softly, scanning the room as he stepped back, eyes flicking over the frayed edges of the rug, the dim light bulb in the corner, and the mismatched chairs at the table. I chuckled, pretending it didn't sting. "Oh, that's just age knocking at my door. Can I make you some tea?" He nodded, easing onto the couch with a creak that reminded me how old and tired the furniture had become. I moved into the kitchen slowly, every step careful. My knees often complained, but that morning I'd taken just half a pain pill to make it last. There were only a few left, and refills cost more than I could spare from what little money I had left for groceries. As I reached for the kettle, Ethan's voice came from behind me. "Grandma, are you okay?" he asked, more softly this time. "That's a lot of pill bottles." "Huh?" I hesitated. I wanted to tell him everything was fine, but my lips wouldn't lie today. "The doctor says they're necessary," I replied lightly, forcing a smile he couldn't even see. Growing old isn't for the faint of heart. He let out a long breath, as if he wanted to say more, but didn't, and I continued preparing the tea with trembling hands, praying he wouldn't notice how thin I'd become, how hollow I felt. Some nights, then came the question I never expected. The $8,000 I've been sending every month. It's helping, right? I froze down, my heartbeat stuttered. The room seemed to blur, the sounds fading into a long, drawn-out silence. "I'm sorry. What are you talking about?" I asked, barely whispering. Ethan leaned forward where he sat, confusion settling across his face. "I've been sending $8,000 to Anna every month for your care. Groceries, medicine, rent. She told me this was the better way, that you didn't like handling money, and she was taking care of everything behind the scenes." It felt like my chest had been split in two. That number at $1,000 monthly, I felt dizzy. My knees buckled just slightly, and I gripped the kitchen counter with all the strength left in my fragile hands. "Oh, Ethan," I whispered, "I haven't seen a penny." His mouth dropped open slowly, and color drained from his face. I don't understand." She showed me photos, groceries, receipts. "She told me you were doing wonderfully. She said you were comfortable, that you didn't need anything else." Tears stung my eyes, not because of the money, but because of what it meant. "She lied to you," I said, shaking my head. "This time, I thought you had forgotten me. That maybe you were too busy or didn't want the burden." "I've been choosing between food and my medicine, Ethan. I've spent nights sleeping in 2 sweaters and a coat when the heat was turned off. I thought you didn't care." His hands clenched into tight fists. The pain on his face wasn't just guilt, was rage. Rage at being lied to. Rage at all the time lost while I suffered in silence. "I thought I was helping you," he said, his voice cracking. "She made me believe that you'd rather not be bothered. That you were too proud for help. That you were being looked after." I nodded slowly. "That's the story she told us both, dear." And then something shifted in him. He sat taller, eyes clear but stormy. "Well, not anymore," he said with steel in his voice. "This ends right now, Grandma." And for the first time in I don't even know how many years, I felt hope. A flicker that lit up the dark corners Anna thought she could hide me in. A tiny spark that warmed something frozen deep inside me. Ethan sat there, the golden sunlight catching the metal band of his expensive watch. But all I could see were the eyes of a little boy I used to tuck into bed now, filled with fire, hurt, and fierce loyalty. "You're telling me," he said slowly, "that you've been living like this, while I've been sending hundreds of thousands of dollars to the wrong person?" I nodded quietly. "I haven't seen a dime, Ethan. Not for groceries. Not for medicine. Not for anything." We sat in silence. The only sound was the refrigerator humming away in the background, a companion I'd learned to accept in the quiet life. I'd been abandoned too. After a minute, I found my voice again. "She visits, sometimes," I said softly. "Anna, with her store-bought cookies or a fake little smile. She asks me how I'm doing. I always said I was fine because, well, I thought it was just my path now. I thought maybe you really had given up. That maybe I was too hard to care." For Ethan's jaw was tight. His eyes burned. "She's been lying to me. It's for 2 years. Then, after a moment, he whispered something even more painful. "She made me believe you didn't want me." The tears finally spilled over. I reached across the table, slow and trembling, and took his hand in mine. "She wanted us apart." "Sweetheart," I said. "That's how she kept control." Ethan looked up, and the look in his eyes was like nothing I'd ever seen before. "Not anymore," he said. "We're going to fix this. And she's going to answer for every lie. Every stolen dollar, every single night you went to bed cold thinking I didn't care." And in that moment, it wasn't just his words that gave me chills. It was the promise they carried Donna had underestimated me for far too long. She thought I was just an old woman past her prime, too frail, too meek, too easy to silence. But she forgot something important. I raised Ethan, and now we were finally on the same side again. That night, I barely closed my eyes. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling that had seen too many lonely winters. Every creak, every sound in the pipes felt louder somehow. The heat barely worked, but I'd gotten used to it. Some nights I imagined it was summer, just to trick my bones into feeling warm. But tonight, warmth wasn't the issue. Tonight was the truth. It had come crashing down like thunder during a quiet sunset, and unexpected, loud, impossible to unhear. Ethan had been sending $8,000 a month, and Anna, my daughter-in-law, had taken it for 2 whole years. I had gone without while she lived comfortably. It rolled in my head again, over and over. Like a song you didn't ask for but couldn't turn off. In the fridge, the milk expired 2 days ago, and I was still rationing it. I had split my last cereal box in half to make it last. I skipped dinner last Thursday because I had only 3 slices of bread left, and they were starting to turn green on the edges. And while I was doing that, she was feeding off Ethan's kindness, and she knew. She knew I stayed quiet out of pride. She knew I wouldn't dare ask questions. She counted on it. As early dawn, light crept through the blinds. I finally rose with a heaviness in my chest that had nothing to do with my aching lungs. At exactly 7:10 a.m., a knock came again. This time, louder, sharper. When I opened the door, Ethan stood there looking completely different. No tailored suit, no polished shoes, just worn jeans, a dark gray sweater, and tired eyes. In one hand, a heavy leather briefcase. "Grandma," he said, "I've been up since 5 a.m. We've got a lot to go through." He walked in with a focus I hadn't seen in him since he was a teenager chasing scholarships, without waiting. He sat down at the kitchen table at the very same spot where I had eaten many lonely meals, often with nothing but toast and cheap tea. "I want everything you've got," he said. "Every bill. Medical note, final notice, any receipts, all of it." I moved slowly. My body sore in every joint, but the worst ache was deeper. I gathered everything in the house that could pass for documentation, rent statements. Letters from the power company demanding payment, medication bills I'd been ignoring, and my tattered checkbook too. A sad little bundle of forgotten please. I laid everything down on the floral tablecloth, the same one Ruth had sewn years ago before she passed. I brushed my hand over it briefly, as if asking for her strength. Ethan opened his briefcase and pulled out what looked like evidence from a law office every wire transfer he had sent Anna, month by month. Each one labeled, for Grandma's care, for medication, for food, utilities, and rent there. Were 2 years of records. He looked up at me, fury barely contained. "This was supposed to change your life, Grandma. You were never meant to struggle." I couldn't speak. I just stared at the numbers, nearly $200,000 that had vanished into thin air. I had never seen that kind of money in my entire life, and certainly never lived like someone who had access to it. Everything I trusted, gone. His voice broke. "She lied to my face. And not just about the money, about you. She told me you were doing great," he continued, flipping through a page. "She said you were happy, that you appreciated the space, even said you felt guilty for taking money." I blinked, stunned. "Oh, Ethan, I never even knew she told you that? I thought you were just busy. I sat here for 2 birthdays, 2 Thanksgivings, thinking I must have done something wrong. And all the while, she was cashing love into her own pockets. She painted you as someone cold, proud, ungrateful," he whispered. "That's how she justified never letting me call. She'd feel like a burden," she said. I believed her. I closed my eyes, my throat too closed to speak. How had I gone from holding his hand as a child to being erased from his life so easily? He continued, his voice shaking with each word. "She sent pictures. Neat little grocery bags on your porch, a filled medicine cabinet. She said she picked everything up for you. She even doctored receipts." I gasped. "Pictures? Ethan, do you know what I had for dinner last Christmas Eve?" He looked up. "Crackers. Just crackers. I couldn't afford a full meal that week. And I still lit a little candle and told myself it was enough." Ethan's face went pale. His fingers tightened into fists. I could see the storm building in him. "She's a thief," he muttered. "She let you suffer, and she lied to both of us." I bit my lip, hands shaking as I folded one of my old utility bills and pushed it across the table. "She visits sometimes, brings cheap cookies. Always too busy," I thought. That was affection. "She stole from us both," he said. "But I'm going to fix this. I'm going to make it right, Grandma. I swear." The room went quiet. The fridge hummed on. The clock on the wall ticked in slow rhythm. Closed my eyes and pictured Ruth. What would she say? Probably smile that same. Soft smile and whisper, "Go slow, sweetheart, but don't stop." Then Ethan reached across the table and did something that made me cry, not because it was sad, but because it meant something. He held my hands, not loosely, not pitying, firm with purpose. "You're not going to worry about the bills anymore," he said. "Starting now, everything goes through you. It's direct deposit, your own account. I'm going to file a report first thing. I've already scheduled a meeting with a financial attorney. We'll dig up the lies one by one." I inhaled deeply, trying to calm the rush of heat in my chest. "There's still more," he added. I called my bank. I canceled further payments to Anna. We're locking her out legally. But I'll ensure you get the support you were always supposed to have, Ethan. He looked at me gently. "I don't want all your money. I know." He smiled softly. But I want your fridge full. I want your heat on. I want your heart medication filled without delay. Grandma, this isn't pity, this is love returning. And then something in me shifted. A fire, not the angry kind, but the steady kind. The kind that had once helped raise a family, bury a best friend, and push through every hard year. Anna had tried to bury me under silence, but she had failed to kill the one thing that always kept me alive. The day Anna came to my doorstep, uninvited, unaware, and unprepared, was the day everything changed. It was exactly 1 week after Ethan and I sat at that kitchen table gathering proof. 1 week since the mask she had worn for 2 years began to crack. 1 week since Ethan stopped the payments, cut off the lifeline she'd been stealing from without a single ounce of regret. And now there she was, standing under the crooked porch light, pretending like nothing had changed. She rang the bell like always. 3 light taps. Delicate, fake, holding a plastic-wrapped banana bread in her perfectly manicured hands. I opened the door slowly. "Anna," I said, staring at her. "What a surprise." She smiled, that pleasant, rehearsed smile of hers. The kind people give grandmothers when they want to appear sweet but don't want to spend more than 5 minutes inside. "Hi, Mom," she said softly, stepping forward like usual. "Just brought you a little something. Thought I'd check in." Before she could plant a kiss on my cheek, a voice echoed from inside the apartment. "Don't bother." Ethan appeared behind me in the hallway, arms folded, eyes as cold as I'd ever seen them. Not cruel, no, just awake and firm. Anna's smile cracked, just barely. She straightened, catching sight of the briefcase on the end table and the stack of printed documents lying open on the kitchen table behind us. "Ethan," she said lightly, voice still humming. "What are you doing here?" "Funny," he replied. "That's exactly what I was about to ask you." She blinked, then laughed, a soft, high sound that didn't reach her eyes. "Is this about the money?" He didn't move. "Drop the act, Anna. I know everything. The transfers, the fake receipts, the lies." Her mouth parted like she might interrupt, but he kept going. "You told me my grandmother didn't want me involved, that she was proud, wanted space. Meanwhile, she was cold, hungry, and afraid to ask for help. While I sent nearly $200,000 to you believing you were helping her, you were using it for designer handbags and expensive spa weekends." The smile dropped completely. I used some for groceries," she sputtered. "There were expenses. Traveling to visit her, gas, picking up prescriptions. It adds up," she said, shrugging innocently. "Really?" he said. "Is that why she has overdue notices from 3 pharmacies and hasn't filled her heart medication in weeks?" Face turned several shades paler. "You lied," Ethan said, "to both of us, and now you're going to face the consequences." "Wait," she snapped suddenly, her fake kindness falling away. "You're blaming me?" She never asked for anything. She just sat there and smiled and said she was fine. "It's not my fault." I stepped forward, voice quiet but unwavering. "No, Anna, it is your fault. Because you knew I wouldn't ask. Because you counted on my silence. And you told Ethan the things I'd never say out loud. That I was okay. That I didn't need him." Eyes set into slits. "Fine," she hissed. "What now? You going to try and sue me?" Ethan didn't hesitate. It's already in motion. Her breath caught. "What? You committed fraud?" "And we have all the proof," he said calmly. "Every statement, every text, every bank transfer. Your photos, your doctored receipts, your lies wrapped up in a neat little folder and handed to my attorney this morning." Silence crashed over the room like thunder. Anna stood there, blinking, lips parted. No script ready. No plan B. "You can leave now," I said. "Next time someone knocks, it better be the lawyer delivering your summons." She turned without another word, her heels clicking down the hallway like a drum of retreat. The door slammed behind her. For a few moments, Ethan and I stood quietly in the calm that followed a storm. The kind of stillness that leaves your heart racing and your knees weak. Then, slowly, I sank into the nearest chair. "She's gone," I whispered. Ethan nodded. "She's gone." Over the following weeks, things began to change. No, they didn't change overnight, and they weren't all easy. But change came anyway, like sunlight slipping through cracks. With Ethan's help, I opened a new bank account in my name. My own card, my own passwords, no more middleman. No more trusting the wrong people. He paid off every bill in full that very day. The rent, the heating, my prescriptions, the groceries. He filled my cabinets until the hinges creaked under the weight of abundance I hadn't seen in years. But more than all that, he came. He kept coming. Lunches every Friday, a call every Tuesday night, grocery runs on Sundays, even when he was tired. Once he even brought a heater with built-in speakers and sat playing jazz music while we shared apple slices and cheese. "I'm sorry," he said once, sitting across from me, eyes softened with regret. "For not seeing sooner, for not knowing." I reached across and touched his hand. "You know, now, that's what matters." And you came back. The court hearings began a few weeks later. Anna's lawyer tried everything, denying, excusing, minimizing. But the evidence Ethan had gathered was rock solid. Every lie she told came unraveled. Every dollar she stole lit up in black ink and record. The judge's ruling was swift and decisive. Restitution, immediate payment, fraud recorded. Charges pending. I'll never forget the look on her face when she realized the game was up. I didn't rejoice in her shame, but I did feel relief. For once, it was not me carrying the burden. The world had finally seen her for what she really was, and they had seen me, seen the aging woman she tried to drown in silence, and Shadow's Dot seen the strength that came from surviving, not just the years of hardship, but the betrayal she never expected me to survive. Months have passed since then. My apartment is still small, but warmer, brighter. The fridge is always full. My medicine is always refilled before I need it. My heart still aches sometimes, but more from love than loneliness now. One afternoon, while dusting the shelf that holds my old photographs, I found one of Ethan as a boy, hair tousled chocolate around his mouth, holding a drawing he made of me. It said in crayon-scrawled letters, "To Grandma May, I love you so, so, so much." I smiled, heart full, because even though years had passed and people had come between us, in the end, he had meant every word, and I had never stopped believing in him.